Computer. What's up, bro?
Hey, Derek.
Hey, just want to welcome everybody to another episode of James and James. My name is Derek James Lovett, and this is my co-host and good friend, Mr. James Matt Hawk. Another day, man. Another day. Good to see you, bro.
It's good to see you too. Looks like you got a little guest next to you.
Yeah, man. This is little Ava. Say hey, Ava. She's been waving hey to you all. Say hey to the audience. Yes, invisible audience there that will see you. Anyway, had to check with the wife about that. But bye-bye.
Bye.
You want to go in there and see mommy so I can start the show? No, I'm going to stay over here and go to sleep. Yeah, man. So what we got Saturday, December, what is it, 18th?
I think it's the 18th. Yeah.
18th, 2021. All right, man. Well, it's a lot going on in the world as there always is, man. What we got on the docket?
Well,
rather, I should say, what's on your mind?
Yeah, that's a better question. Well, Christmas is almost here.
Christmas is almost here. Then follows New Year's. Well, I got some good news, man. Yesterday was my last day of school for 2 weeks. I'm out for Christmas break.
When you said last day, I was like,
no, bro. Not a repeat.
Christmas break.
Yeah, not a repeat. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm locked in right now in the education arena.
One of these days, we're gonna have to tell everybody about that backstory.
Oh yeah, and you know that's definitely gonna be multiple episodes and probably different phases for real. That's got so many layers.
That's pre Ashley, pre children,
and pre a lot of stuff. And you know it's interesting, man, how what seemed so daunting at the time, and the more and more I think about it, and you said this before, but the more and more I think about it, it literally launched me into what I'm doing now. Like, it's amazing because like before then, I mean, I had some moderate success in my personal life and professional life, but like since then, it really basically just morphed and enhanced my whole approach to life, and like really just set me up, was a catalyst for just doing more, man. It's amazing. I'm like, wow, what I thought was my end, actually was my beginning. And I'm sure a lot of people have, we got those similar stories, and it's just a testament to God and his goodness and his grace and how he uses every situation in our lives to make us better and to get the glory. And when we learn that, we can do more. When we learn it's all about him. And I thank God for that humbling experience that at the time I could not see or understand, that being God.
I think that's pretty accurate, because most times in life, when we're in it, we can't really see it.
Right.
And then hindsight is 2020. That's what they say.
Right.
It's a vision thing, looking backwards on something. You can see it a little bit clearer for what it actually is.
Right.
And sometimes we do have to go through it, and fortunately some of us make it through on the other side and can see.
And
repeat.
Right.
On repeat.
Right. Yeah. Sadly, unfortunately, and I think a lot of times, I won't say all the time, but I think a lot of times, possibly all the time, the difference is can be that relationship with God, that faith, and really that foundation. Because even with what I went through, and feeling like I was separated from God, I still had that foundation. And so even though at the time, I didn't think a lot of the things still applied to me. Like I didn't know, faith was just, at that time, it just seemed so far away from what I was going through. But because that relationship, that foundation was there, God knew me and he knew what I was going through. But you know what? You said something else that was key when you just mentioned how hindsight is 2020, and I think you mentioned the word vision, and it's just interesting you say that because we are going into the new year where many times in the new year people's spirits are high, they're ready to set goals and things like that. So I think that's kind of a good segue. I didn't know I would mention this today, but as you and I have talked, we can share with the audience that I'm about to release book number 3, Refresh, Refocus, Rebuild, The Art of Perfecting the Vision. And in this book, I actually had the pleasure or privilege of Mr. James Hawk vetting chapter 3, which deals with finances and budgeting, specifically cash flow, net worth. And so I appreciate that, James, and we're just looking forward to getting that out there and it helping some folks. And so talking about the backstory, I digress. I'm going to let you say something, but, that backstory ties into this book.
That's true. Even now, this is your 3rd book, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Book number 3.
What was the name of your first book?
First book was Finish the Race, Mastering the Process Towards Destiny. And interestingly enough, that was the book the Lord gave me as I started to come out of that dark place, that low place exactly that I was in. And interestingly enough, again, the process by which God gave me as I was coming out to help me come out that process was Refresh, Refocus, Rebuild. So he gave me that term, some years later. But at the time, the process I was implementing in my life to regain my time and to regain my time and to better prioritize and really just get my focus back was what we know now as Refresh, Refocus, Rebuild. And I did the first.
How it starts with the R's, so it's easy to remember.
Yeah, man, refresh and refresh, refocus, rebuild can go so many ways, but in theory, what I'm saying is refresh the vision, refocus your goals, and rebuild a plan. And it's a daily process, a monthly, weekly, and daily process. Yeah,
I got you. Well, that's actually pretty good because you can talk about it from a very, very big picture type of way. Definitely. But you're actually very specific because you're giving the reader an actual step-by-step plan on how you can actually take these things and implement them out. Now, I'm just gonna assume that this is not just for the upcoming year. This is like a tactic, a strategy that you can use for multiple years. It's not just pegged down to 2022.
Right. I would say yes. Matter of fact, it's processes that are based on principles that anyone could use for the rest of their life. And most of the principles, I will say that most working adults have used in some form or fashion. But the way that it's put in the book is very structured and systematic. So whereas somebody reading it will be familiar with many of the principles and strategies, but seeing them in that form or in format may help them, or I believe will help most individuals practice those things at a higher efficiency.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think a lot of this is it's important to help people understand that what you're pursuing now is there's an idea that's been put out, and it's not a bad idea, but the idea of following your passion and doing what you love and those types of things. And I'm not against the idea. I'm against it when somebody jumps off the end of the bridge without having properly factored in reality, which is if you've got basically what's called, Dave Ramsey calls it 4 walls, which is food, shelter, transportation, and clothing. If you don't have those bases covered when you jump off to pursue your dream, and you don't have a way to kind of monetize it, then you run the risk of causing unnecessary suffering on your own life. We're
Right.
not into the place where we can all get like universal basic income, just a like a regular, you know, a check from the government. I don't know if that's a good idea either, but it's just the idea that what people when they jump off to pursue their dream, I hope they have a day job to take care of their basic needs, because kind of going into what your books talks about when it talks about finances, the idea of being able to have a budget to know exactly what you have to pay for, and the less debt or even no debt. If you have no debt, that's better, because that way you can really pursue your dream and
Right.
your goals and your talents. And the only thing that you're really worried about is food. But also you have to take into account too, if you're going to do this and you're doing it on your own when you're single, then that's great, because if you succeed, and unfortunately, a measurement of that success is wealth and riches. If you do succeed, then you meet somebody, well, that person doesn't hadn't have to go through the struggle that you went through. Whereas if you're
Right.
with somebody, that person has to be involved with you from point A to point
That's so true.
Z.
That's so
And
true.
Jeff Bezos, one of the richest men out there currently, his ex-wife, was with him when he started Amazon. She was one of the major people in his life when he started that business. And so it's, you know, sad to say that, that their marriage didn't work out. But, I mean, she was with him through all of it.
So
You
I was
know,
going to ask you. That's interesting. So did he, while he was starting Amazon? I'm sure, as most successful entrepreneurs, he had tried to start multiple businesses. But did they hit a really low point financially?
they they must have when they were
Yeah.
first starting Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they must have had some type of struggles. I mean,
Right.
it's an idea that nobody's ever seen before.
Right.
Online
Right.
shopping. Everybody thought, well, why we do that? We can just go to the
Right.
store.
Right. I
Well,
just, yeah. I
yeah,
just wonder if, since we're talking about these, the basic needs, I just wonder if, in his case, if they if they had, savings and just had enough to kind of sustain, even though Amazon may have taken a while to get on its feet. Because I think that's the point. One of the points you were making, that in this society, many times we are kind of influenced to, go for the goal, go for the top, and it's at the expense of a lot of our basic needs. And I mentioned that in the book, how many times we, pursue these things and they end up being vain pursuits, and it's at the expense of time with family and our own health many times. And something else you said, it really made me think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which
yeah,
I referenced in this book and I referenced in Finish the Race. That bottom, that base level of need is psychological, and then safety. So our food and our shelter. And it's not until the top, that pinnacle, which is, the fulfillment and the accomplishments. That's our last need, actually. But in this society, we're kind of trained to go for that first, to take these huge, it's almost like, hey, take a huge leap. And it's almost like that's where the glory is. Take this leap at the expense of, the basic needs. And, that's where the glory is. But a lot of time, more times than not, folks do not succeed, in doing so. And by the grace of God, many times they're able to recover, but it's at the expense of so much. They lose family, they lose a strong financial foundation that takes them the next 30, 40 years to recover. So that's a very good point. And that's actually one of the emphasis of Refresh, Refocus, Rebuild, how to pursue, the things that you want while sustaining what you need.
and while you were talking, I had a couple things come to mind. One, we're talking about this people going after their dreams and stuff, and we live in America. one of the greatest countries on earth. You know, if we were living in somewhere, let's say like North Korea or any other, no, well, not disparage North Korea, but a country that does not have the same uh, advancement in economy, governing, and those types of things. Though these types of things that we're trying to do would not be, you know, in other countries, your basic need is to get up, get food, make sure you have enough food to make it through just one day.
Right.
And so, the other side of that too is people that aren't encouraged to kind of go and become entrepreneurs or whatnot. They're encouraged to go into the workforce, but they say that they can't be successful unless they have a college degree, which is not true because there's plenty of work out there for people that are willing to pick up a trade.
Right.
You know, the trade arts are dying out because people aren't willing to do it. So obviously if there's big supply, well, low supply, high demand,
Right.
then the wages will go up to compensate.
Right.
So you can make a very decent living in a trade.
And you know what's interesting about what you just said is, I mean, thinking about a trade, like plumbers have always made a good living. Electricians have always made a great living, even when the supply was up. You know, let's say the 60s, 70s, 80s. Folks always needed those things though. So that's just what, like every household at some point, you know, will need a plumber. You know, maybe some much more than others, but we'll need a plumber. Probably will need an electrician. So, like you said, now these are jobs where the supply is down, and so the wages might be even more beneficial for those, especially young folks, who we can kind of guide in that direction. But it's always been a decent living. I think at some point, at some point in society, those things got a bad rap, almost like they were lesser than the the blue collar jobs that you would get through going to college. But that's always been a viable option, and nobody said that a young person can't pick up a trade and work that trade while going through school or whatever they want to do, and have that trade and pass that down, continue to have multiple streams of income.
And that that thing that what you're talking about, and I'm going to take a guess and refresh, refocus, rebuild. And just to kind of, for everybody to think about, is to do it again, to pick it up again. So initially in your life, you may have started to try to be, energetic and fresh, and tried to focus very hard on some things, try to build something new. And, life gets exhausting. It beats you down, and there's a lot of obstacles can come in the way. So that's why you have to pick it up again. It's having that perseverance to be able to do that again. And it takes a lot of strength to do that. And it's not just a ability that's just limited to just one person. It's for everyone that calls themselves a human being. That is a human being. So, within that book, I think a topic you're probably talking about is helping people pursue what they want to do, but also maybe putting it on the side, as what a term I've heard more frequently now is a side hustle, and building your side hustle into what will one day replace what you currently do. Most people don't think about, well, most is a strong word, but I don't know if everybody thinks about the term multiple streams of income, but that is a way to help you get to the place where you're doing what you're truly passionate about all the time. Because I've got a friend who has a day job, but his absolute passion, I call him the Iron Chef of Millbrook, is to do dinners, like food.
Mm-hmm.
The two industries are completely different. What it does, what his daytime job is, and what his passion is. So right now, he's got one stream of income that's taking care of the family, paying the bills. On the side, he's got this passion, which is slowly but surely, it's creating a stream of income too. So over time, the goal, and that's why it's important to have something like what your book is going to do to help people kind of get refreshed when they need to be refreshed, to refocus, trying to focus on it and then rebuild, is to kind of, it's something, it's a mile marker they can go back to. And that's the hard part, is picking it back up and remind yourself, oh yeah, I need to do this, because there's certain disciplines that over time that you just have to make the time to do it, and it becomes muscle memory for yourself. And it takes dedication to do that.
So true. And man, James, you're really right on it. Spot on it, and pretty much what you said. So many things came to mind while you were talking, so I'll try to start somewhere. But I think, as you were saying, many times folks will, they'll be impassionate about something, a goal or something. They'll set it, and then they'll put all their energy into it, and then they'll get burned out. And when they get burned out, they turn right back to just their regular ways. They just work, just watch TV, whatever their leisure is. And so they don't return to that goal then 5-10 years later, because that goal never really went anywhere. They knew, they needed to do that thing, but many times folks do get burned out. So yes, Refresh, Refocus, Rebuild is a framework that helps individuals incorporate principles and base their implementation of those principles on their own unique personalities, desires, needs, and so that they can sustain, so that a person can, continue to do what they, need to do for that income. And as you mentioned, for some folks, it might be a side hustle, work on that, and then, still make time for family and everything else. So it really is a framework to help folks incorporate every aspect of their lives in a way that works for them. You can think of it kind of like a major business like an Amazon, who we mentioned earlier. The thing that makes Amazon work is they've got these many different departments: marketing, human resources, production, etc., that are all working seamlessly together, so that even when there's one, wrench in the chain, it doesn't hurt the output. And so what Refresh, Refocus, Rebuild does is helps individuals create this machine, if you will, that takes into account all these things about themselves, their interests, their needs, and produce the outcome that they want on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. So, and you mentioned refreshing, kind of returning back to this point of reference. Well, that should be a daily thing. And in the book, we break down what this should look like on a daily basis. How do you refresh from day to day? On a weekly basis, what things should you look at? How should you assess your efficiency on a monthly basis? How you should lay out your vision, your goals, and assess your progress.
So talk to me right where you are right now. Like,
got you. Yeah. Got you, man. I appreciate that. So
you got intense, man. You were leaning into the mic. I was like, hold on now. I think I can hear it.
I'm gonna give a couple, just some examples. Okay. So I'm going to give a hypothetical example. Then I'm going to give an example in my own life for how this process has helped me produce results. And so here's a scenario. First, I'm just going to use an example. Let's say an individual, I'm going to use a single mom. Say a single mom with 2 kids under 10 years old, working. Let's say this single mom makes, let's say $10 an hour, $11 an hour, but she discovers she's interested in social work. Well, right now she's really busy, picking up the kids, busy at home, but she's also got some time that the book would call time wasted, because there's about 3 or 4 hours a day where she really, let's say social media, let's say doing some things that if you asked her what she did every day, she'd be like, I don't know, I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So What she realizes when she decides that she wants to pursue social work is she realizes, number one, there are some opportunities out there without a degree that she can be looking for that will pay her the same thing, if not more, and she won't have to work the 60 hours she works a week. She could work the 40. That's number one. That would be okay. And I'll come back to that. Number two, she realizes she needs to get a bachelor's degree so that she can have a better paying social work job. So keep those things in mind, because we're going to intertwine that with a deeper understanding of goals and time management. So on one hand, a short-term goal for that individual would be, let's say she gives herself 2 months to land a better job in every area of social work. And let's say she gives herself 1 hour a week. Now, before we even talk about goals, she would have to have assessed how she uses her time and discovered again
that's what I was about to ask.
That she's wasting 3 to 4 hours. Let's say 12 to 15 hours a week she's wasting, which now, because she's assessed that, she's able to say, okay, well, at this point in time every day, I'm going to be researching and applying for these jobs. Now I know I also have time to go ahead and get back in school, because I can dedicate 6 to 8 hours during the week to actually study and still get everything else, the time with my kids, everything else I need to do done. And so what we see is now this person systematically making progress. And here's the interesting concept that the difference between a short-term goal and a long-term goal normally in general. A short-term goal may cause a person to have to displace some of their routine things for a season of time, for that short season, 3 months, a few weeks, whatever that may be. And because it can be intense and you have to meet. So that person, if they realize that 1 hour was not enough and they weren't getting results, like say she realized she wasn't getting enough callbacks because you got to play the odds. Maybe she had to increase that to 2 hours, right? And so and the difference between short-term goals and long-term goals in terms of, weekly also, I hope everybody can hear me out there with my daughter. Weekly also is that weekly a long-term goal really causes you to permanently change your routine. Say, for instance, that person in school that when she gets in school, she has to dedicate that 6 to 8 hours. So that becomes a concrete part of her week every week until she graduates. And that was something I had to, I recently finished up my master's and I adopted that. I knew I needed 10 to 12 hours every week. And that's what worked for me. And I think sometimes when we don't have those principles in mind, like even the differences between what short-term goals and long-term goals should look like and how we use our time, it can be easy to get discouraged. So I talk about that in the book. So another example directly from my life is, as you know, James. Oh, go ahead. Okay.
See, just so everybody knows, Derek is a professional speaker because you have been paid in one way or fashion to speak, whether it was acting or in ministry. You can go.
Sorry. Yeah.
If I don't try to slow you down, you could go for the next half an hour to an hour.
Yeah.
So, what is important based off of the two things that you were just talking about? What's more important, time management or goals?
Oh man, I love that question, and I would have to say, hands down, time management, because time governs every process, whether it's your priorities or whether it's your goals. It comes back to time, and time really governs the process of money too, until you're making residual income and it doesn't, and you're making so much that you don't have to work. Time governs that process as well.
And a good point to that is if something costs $60, okay, and you get paid, let's say $15 an hour, you had to sacrifice 4 hours of your life to pay for that thing that costs $60.
Exactly.
It is a measurable event, and
yes.
Something. I lost my train of thought.
Oh, no.
It goes so fast. I was like, hold on now. Okay, hold on.
Look. Well, I'll say what you were just saying about how we really, most of us are trading our time. Go ahead.
This is it. What? So, you gave a hypothetical example, and then you were talking about the example in your own life. There's got to be some other ingredient that would help somebody stay true to that course of trying to hit that goal, even if they have great time management. I mean, there's got to be something else, because if you think about it, I know you, like you've been working towards this. Nothing was going to stop you from getting there. And in your hypothetical situation, what in the book do you talk about that factor that keeps people going without, because quit is a very easy word. It's a very easy thing to do. What, I guess if somebody's picking up this book, then I guess it's important to communicate to them. It's like, you may be picking up this process for the first time or the 151st time, but do you kind of tell them, it's like, you don't know what it is inside you, but you've got it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely that's honed in the book. And just kind of a couple things about that. As you were implying, we all have there's a deep seated desire that was put in us by God for us to do certain things. So, and it's reflective in our interests, it's reflective in our different talents. And I believe that it's even reflective, if we think really, really deeply, it would be reflective in how we desire to use our time. Even from the standpoint of, if we're a morning person, we like to work from, let's say 7 to 3, or you like to work intermittently throughout the day, whatever that is. And so all those things considered, that's what, each individual is really, working towards, whether they're doing it consciously or not. And so when we talk about vision, if you notice, when I said refresh the vision, refocus your goals, and rebuild a plan, I said refresh the vision. The implying that it's absolute, replying that the creator, God, put a vision. My 2-year-old is just like busting in. She's like, I'm getting to my daddy.
Well, this is also goes back to your hypothetical of, like, when you have children and you have other obligations. How do you
exactly? And so I'm glad you brought that up. And I digress. The other point, if we have time, I'll expound on that. If not, I have to get the book. No, I'm just kidding. But no, you should get the book. So there's a concept in the book I talk about called compartmentalization, and really what that means, or what it gets at, is the importance of spending unadulterated, just, I guess, focus on whatever it is that you need to focus on during that time. And so that's such a critical key to productivity, to efficiency in your day, and to proficiency with whatever you're doing. And so many times in our lives, because we are so busy, we can constantly mix different things. And so there's also something I talk about the the term evades me eludes me right now, but it's where you can do certain things effectively, such as if you wanted to work out and you need to spend time with kids, you can work out with your kids, things like that. But no, I'm talking about things that actually you need to isolate and have an hour to do that and nothing else as much as possible. And that's an important concept I think a lot of us do miss out on. And and you know, it's interesting because that actually, when you can do that, it serves as a system of checks and balances, because it's kind of like when you're focused on what you need to focus on, you appreciate the time that you set aside for everything else, because you know that's the time you give to that. It's almost like an example would be work. Like, say, a lot of folks think work's getting in the way of their progress. No, not necessarily. Work, going to work might actually be that structure that you need. You just have to shift your mindset. So having that time at work gives you, you know, a certain amount of time, leaves you a certain amount of time that you need to set aside for those things that you want, so they can balance each other out. Yeah,
that's right. Because you know, as a job, you're getting paid X amount of hours to be on that job from that point in time to that point in time, and it is a structure. That's why if you go back a little bit further back and look at schools, you're going from class from this amount of time to this amount of time, and you're learning things that will be applied in the basic workforce. I mean, we think that a lot of things that we learn in school, we won't be able to, it won't really apply again. But when it comes to writing, I never thought that would be something that I would have to really know that well. But it is a form of communication through email, or depending upon what your job description is, you may actually have to write extensively. So it's taking the value of the structure,
right,
and understanding that structure does have value.
So true.
And, you know, compartmentalization is good in that it does allow you to focus, but you have to be mindful of making sure that you compartmentalize what you do, but you don't compartmentalize who you are.
Right. So true. So true. Look, and I want to ask you to expound for our audience on that last point about not compartmentalizing, you know, who you are.
Well, that is a great question, because if it depends upon what job you have, but depending upon what job you have to Shakespeare, I'm paraphrasing what he said, all the world is the stage, et cetera, et cetera. But basically, in a job, you wear a certain role or a certain mask. And so you can only say and speak a certain way. I wouldn't think that's true in every single job industry, but it depends upon the amount of influence and how much public exposure you have. You know, for example, actors and actresses, they play roles in movies and things like that. They have to go out on the red carpet. They have to, if they have business ventures, they have to present themselves a certain way. And they have to compartmentalize all these different identities depending upon the situation. And then finally, when they go home, you know, it's the question of, is that who you really are when you're at home? Or is that, you know, is who you are at home the same person out in the world? Right. Because in certain jobs, you're going to have to compartmentalize. You can only show and say so much. Right. So you have to be mindful of the fact that you do have to compartmentalize, but at its core, you're not compartmentalizing who you are, your integrity, your value, your foundation, those things that you talk about that are very important. That's why it's, whether you talk about this in the refresh section or not, I would assume something that would be good to add on to it is refreshing who you are, you know, even as an add on to that.
Right. Definitely, man. And when we, you know, when we have workshops and things like that, those are aspects, as you mentioned, that we do want to hone in on. But I will say that with the process of the framework of refresh, refocus, rebuild, and just the idea of compartmentalizing, spending time on what you need to spend time on, when you need to spend time on it, that creates, the balance that you need to be exactly to be who you are, and to be healthy mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. And that's what many individuals, I think, would probably admit if asked that they didn't have that healthy balance.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah,
I think even in Microsoft Outlook, they've got a function inside of there where it says focus. Like, this is a time block. I want to set this appointment, book this appointment time to just do this, and this. Yeah. In other words, just trying to help people.
Right.
They obviously, if we're talking about it at this level, there are organizations, that have analyzed it
right
extensively and understand that in human beings that there has to be rest
right
at some point. There has to be something. But yeah, it's a compartmentalization of duties, understanding the difference between the two. Compartmentalization of work, but compartmentalization of your identity and the importance of the two.
Right. Gotcha. Well, good stuff, man. Good stuff. So bro, man, this was a great extemporaneous meeting. I guess
our episodes they flow how they flow. So we have a plan, but we're again, this goes back to you and talking about time and blocking out time. We blocked out time for this, so if it doesn't go as planned, it's like, well, just you and me, let's do it.
That's right. We made the time for it.
If it was just me, this is the whole idea behind it. Had to have two. Because if it was just me, it would look weird. Me just getting on,
just sitting there, just talking
to myself.
30 seconds of lull time.
The podcast. It was work. They have people that will just go on just themselves, and they'll just go on for hours. It works for them, but
they have a
conversation. Conversation works.
Definitely, man.
So it's coming out in 2022. How can people get to this book? Is there a website? You give some people some information.
Thank you. So it's being published January 1st. So that's the big launch date, the big publishing date, January 1st. Right at the beginning of the year. You can purchase it at themclife.com. That's TheemCee life.com, and MC stands for educated, motivated, committed, esteemed, and empowered. The MC Life is a publishing company. We focus on self-help, personal development, professional development. And you also can find out about, we have a webinar at refocusrebuild.com. So that's refocusrebuild.com. You can view the webinar. You can also link to the purchase page from there. We're taking pre-orders right now. If you order before January 1st, you'll get a signed copy of the book. And on Refresh, Refocus, Rebuild, you can also subscribe to our email list so you can stay tuned for upcoming workshops that are in person as well as webinars.
Okay, cool. Well, all right, man.
Well, bro, it's been a pleasure, man. Great to see you as always. So glad the Lord put this idea on your heart and you followed through. And for those who don't know, we call this a conversation between friends because we both got family and children. So we don't exactly have a whole lot of time during the week to talk to each other. So we said we were going to do a podcast, and that'll be our time we spend with each other during the week.
That's right.
All right, bro. Well, you and the family have a blessed day today, and I will talk to you soon.
All right. Sounds good, man.
Thanks, man.
See you.
See you. Bye.